How's life, everybody? My name is Glitch Chick, and today we're going to be taking a look into Soma, a 2015 dystopian sci-fi horror release. As we begin this journey, we're going to be looking into the different locations and the art style that this game had, the different characters that we connected with along the way, and some of the bigger, hard-hitting moral questions that this game really focuses on. For some context, our main character is Simon, who went in initially for a brain scan to help his health and woke up sometime in the future in a very horrendous and traumatic situation, making him the perfect vessel to discuss all of the moral questions that this game likes to focus on. But now, let's go ahead and put that in the corner for a second and dive into the unique locations this game has to offer. As we are playing and adventuring, we are jumping from different science stations in this underwater area, which also encompasses a lot of underwater facilities. These were my favorite portions of the game to experience, when you can look out into the ocean or when you can walk around the ocean, because the colors were beautiful and they even had detailed sea life like different types of fish and plant life that would move around you as you went. We're also exposed to a lot of mechanical facilities in which we encounter a lot of our enemies, and to several of the scientists' offices, which are very dimly lit, which makes it very intriguing to walk around and a little spooky as well. I was really impressed with the lighting throughout this game, because every new area that you discovered gave you an air of caution because it was very intense looking, and it made you very worried about when or where you might find your next enemy and if they're looking around the corner that very moment. Speaking of enemies, the art for these bad guys was so good and incredibly scary. I hated seeing any of these guys, or better yet, hearing them before you see them, hearing them around the corners, because I knew that the moment I looked at them, it would terrify me. And these are pretty terrifying and very unique to this game. A+ to Soma for giving me fuel for my next few nightmares. Now onto some of the people and characters that we met. Or better yet, their echoes? ? Unfortunately, 99% of the colleagues that we managed to find amongst the ships and the wreckage of the different locations were very brutally murdered by the WoW, which was the security protocol and basically the big bad of the game. But we did manage to connect with them through a very unconventional way, which you only see, I feel like, in sci-fi games, which was through their recordings.
That's to do with the WoW trying to free Ross somehow, for sure. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the body just got up and left.
Eee, did the body get up and leave?
Our dispatcher has been snooping around asking questions she shouldn't. She says she's going down into the abyss to find Alpha. I can't bring myself to stop her.
We do end up finding a few of our crewmates, but just in a less than ideal circumstance where they are being kept alive by the WoW creation that has basically overtaken their area, and we are forced to kill quite a few of them because they basically aren't living a life. They either ask to be killed, or they are vital steps in the game in which you must remove the plugs to the creature that is keeping them alive. And in those cases, it's actually incredibly sad to hear them talk and then have to pull out things like the plugs and hear them essentially pass. Other unlucky crew members could be found with their consciousnesses having been transferred into the working robots in these facilities. They were transferred there by the WoW defense program as a way to save people, but also as a way to be able to manipulate the people. The whole concept of the WoW was very intense and overwhelming, and there's a lot to think about with that program and how it basically went from protecting the people that lived in these vessels to basically being what destroyed them. Here's one of the robots that we encountered, though.
It's me, Carl Semke. Wrangler? Any of this sound familiar to you?
No, actually.
Well, thanks for being so helpful. It's not like I'm knocked out on the floor or anything.
Okay. Oh, this is on him.
What's wrong with your everything? You go diving in sewage or something?
These new robot versions of them really had no idea that they had been transferred and that they were robots and they could truly feel and experience the pains of being a person, which is why when I turned that switch on, he screamed in pain because he felt himself basically powering down and it felt like I was killing him. This gave me a lot of anxiety when trying to figure out how to approach these robots and what to do with them. Some of them being good, some of them being bad, some of them just giving you information, but inevitably us having to turn off quite a few of them. And it was heartbreaking when you've seen how they react to this. This is a total 180 from Nemo, that's the name I gave him, the little helper robot that you find while you're walking around in the ocean who helps you unlock certain doors. Nemo being a normal robot made the comparison between the two very strange and made your interpretation of robots a little uncomfortable. Now, these might so far make it seem like we were alone throughout the entire game, but we did have two unique instances in which we were not. One of which being when we met this woman, Sarah, who is late in the game, and she is literally the last person alive, not only in game, but in the world that this game sets for us. And she's only about 27, and she has lived through the horrible experiences of this ship that we had heard in the recordings up until now in real time. And at the end of our encounter with her, she asks us to end her life support, which is a very traumatic and sad situation, and it brought me a lot of emotions. It was also really astounding to see that she was so young in this condition, having lived through it all and having understood the predicament we were in, trying to save the project that this whole team had been trying to do before the WoW took over, which was launching the Ark into space. And more on that in a second. The last character I'm going to discuss, and probably the most important, is Catherine, who actually spends the entire game with us. When we initially wake up in the future, she is within the same building that we are first located, and we find her consciousness kind of interacting with the computer system, and we download her onto our handheld device that helps us get through the different security measures of all of the different buildings we have to travel through. I feel that Catherine was very specifically designed to be the classic scientist stereotype. Very narrow-minded, very stubborn, very unempathetic. Because as our character is essentially having emotional crises throughout this entire game, who am I? What is life? What is humanity? Is this life real? Is it worth living? She doesn't want to deal with us, and she doesn't give a crap about her thoughts initially. And it feels like most of the responses she gives us are band-aid responses for like, here, let's put a band-aid on that and let's get on with what I want to do. Because the moment we pick her up and download her, it's her mission from then on. And we don't have really any say in the direction that we go from there. So she is very good about project management, keeping us on the goal, but not necessarily about communicating with us and assuaging our fears. You can kind of feel the disconnect between these two personalities as the game goes, because when Simon hits any really hard parts in his thinking about the missions we are on, he gets mad at her and there's a loss of trust very often. And I think this is most clearly seen in the very last scene, because even though we've been briefed on what kind of experience we'll have at the end, we still didn't really trust Catherine, and we basically die feeling like we were alone this whole time.
I'm still here. I'm still here. Catherine? Catherine?
I'm here.
What the hell happened? What went wrong?
Nothing. They're out there, among the stars. We're here.
No. We were getting on the Ark. I saw it. It finished loading just before it launched.
Yeah, I saw.
Then why are we still here?
Simon, I can't keep telling you how it works. You won't listen. You know why we're here. You were copied onto the Ark. You just didn't carry over. You lost the coin toss. We both did. Just like Simon and Omicron, just like the man who died in Toronto 100 years ago.
No, this is bullshit. We came all this way. We launched the Ark.
I know it sucks, but our copies are up there. Catherine and Simon are both safe on the Ark. Be happy for them.
Are you crazy? We're gonna die down here with those fuckers living at large on a spaceship. They're not us.
The big problem between these two working together is that Catherine's singular goal is to launch the Ark, where our goal is to help Catherine but inevitably survive. And that never really gets communicated to Catherine, or she never really takes that as a priority. So when her goal is done, so is she. And we're left to live on alone in basically an unpowered end of the world situation. Now let's delve into what the Ark was and what the meaning of the Ark meant to everybody that died as a part of this crew. The Ark was Catherine's working project when she was alive and working within the facilities of Pathos 2. It was thought that by creating digital scans of each person that worked within the facilities, she could create a digital copy that would pick up from where they left off in their lives when they were scanned and be uploaded into a VR system in order to create a VR world for them to continue living in. This was obviously mixed with some AI, so that way the consciousnesses could continue to live and grow and experience things in the new VR world. The hope of Pathos 2 was to launch this digital version of the collection of them within the facility into space, so that way different solar panels and energy mechanics could continue to have the program live on for thousands of years. This whole project created a lot of moral dilemma between people working on Pathos 2. Many believed that their digital copy that would succeed them was actually more valuable than their current copy, and that two shouldn't exist at once, and would therefore end their human lives so that there was only one copy left. There was also a lot of questions as to whether or not a digital version of yourself was a true copy of yourself. Is that a valuable life in comparison to a human life? So many people didn't believe in the project, while others felt that it was the only way for humanity to continue and considered it the equivalent. At points through the game, you get to see little glimpses of what the VR world would be. For example, when we talk to Mr. Wan, who is currently in the simulation being pictured, we have to ask him for a security code, and there are many points when he gets overwhelmed within the simulation because he can tell it's a simulation, and we have to abort it. And we have to try this multiple times in many different configurations until we can make him comfortable enough to believe that the simulation is real. There are also little areas throughout the different maps in the game where you can take a survey asking you your opinion on the VR world, your idea of its weight in humanity, how comfortable you feel being brain scanned and sent onto the Ark, or if you'd rather not be brain scanned and kept on Earth. These are the types of things that kind of break the fourth wall in the game, because you as a person are answering these based on your feelings versus what your characters might imply or what other characters around you might want you to put. I really liked this way of measuring how you were understanding the game and your thoughts as they progress through the game. My initial thoughts on those surveys were very much leaning towards, I do not feel like a digital copy of me is worth me, and I do not feel comfortable with the idea of being uploaded to the Ark to live on in a digital version of myself after my human body and consciousness have disappeared and left this world. But they ask you to survey one more time. If you watch past the end credits of the game, there is a bonus scene where you get to see the version of Simon, the main character, that has been digitized and sent to the Ark. And my answers were very different after seeing his reaction to being within the Ark, and I also feel like I answered the last survey more according to what he would have wanted to say versus my own personal feelings at that point, because I just wanted Simon to be happy. So I ended up very much siding with, yes, this is a life worth living. Yes, I think the Ark was a good idea, because when Simon finds himself, or the copy of Simon that finds himself on the Ark, walks through the new world for the first time, it's one of the only times that we truly see him excited and overwhelmed with joy in the game. And I was just really happy to have him be happy. And for the overall idea that we were at least successful getting the Ark to space. I absolutely loved the experiences within this game, though it did send my thoughts a little all over the place, and it made keeping track of the storyline within the arc and the storyline within the WoW, which are two separate ideas really, very hard to keep track of throughout the game. But nonetheless, I would definitely recommend playing this. Even for a 2015 game, it feels like a 2022 release, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, they end it with us on that side of the coin toss. Oh, that hurts. I'm hurt. I'm emotionally distraught. I knew this is how it was gonna end, but I'm still sad about it.